is this?
Hello and welcome to my review on the brand new 2024 4.5 foot LED Zero from the Home Depot. This has a price tag of $99 and is currently out of stock on their website, but has started to arrive at select stores. A date for when this returns online, as well as if it's coming to every Home Depot, are unbeknownst to me, though we will be getting answers to both soon. To discuss its features, they comprise of an illuminated head, body, and nose, yet with no pun intended, zero sound, and zero animation. This will come as a letdown to quite a few Nightmare Before Christmas and animatronic fans, and if we're being honest, myself included. These missed opportunities are something we'll circle back to later in the review. Turning our attention now to the box itself, there are several areas worth showcasing. An enlarged human comparison can be found at the side along with Lock, Shock, and Barrel, who fittingly appear mischievous as ever. The back could be considered the front as the info on it remains simply rearranged, and all this to leave the third side feeling rather blank. I do, however, love the placement of Sally corner to corner with Jack, a fun little detail from the graphic artist. The box sure looks great, but what of course matters is the product inside, so let's get this open and hop to it. Well, with Zero consisting of only 9 elements, I thought I could fit most of them on my desk. Turns out only 5 can really fit, and that is because of its massive body, which you can tell takes up most of it. So prior to getting into what I have laid out here, we'll begin with the base. And to start, labeled B is actually the middle section of it. So you're gonna have 2 little things that come out from either side, and then this attaches to a main pole, which I'll show you in just a second. But here's one of them. They're pretty much identical other than they're inverses of each other, so they'll just clip on like that. And this here will attach together, and then after you've inserted this hook into this hole, you will take this clip, lock it into place, and that will be your main support system for Zero. But moving on to the dog himself, they've captured it darn near perfectly. I've never seen a better representation of Zero. His collar looks good, though some of the paint is starting to chip, sadly. Turning it around, you do have these 2 little openings for the ears. They slide in quite easily. It's very simple, just locking them into place. Over time, I do think repeated pushing in and pulling out could start to wear down the plastic on the ears, thus creating a less secure connection between the two. However, that's really nitpicky and not a problem that would come up for years down the road. Balancing his head back on my desk, we'll now take a look at the body. I'll get the dimensions for you, I'll put them on screen, but you do have 2 wires that protrude out from here. These go into the neck. It's only 2 connections, so it will be pretty easy kind of stuffing them back in. Using the rotational lock method SVI puts on a lot of Home Depot's giant props, it's exactly what we have with Zero. You simply put the head on into the larger inserts, twist it, and you're good to go. And to round things out, we have 4 C batteries and 2 metal stakes. I actually love the stakes that have been provided. While there are only 2, they're thick, heavy, and extremely durable, and I really wish that inflatable stakes would start doing something like this, because these are definitely going to get the job done, but would be nice to have maybe 2 more. This then brings me to the batteries, and it's kind of weird to think of an outdoor prop using batteries as there is no adapter provided. You saw from the box the batteries are not included, and with this retailing for $100, it really means it's more like $115 to $120 depending on tax and everything else, so that is something very important to note. The box for it is tucked up in the body right next to the pole that this attaches to, and after a 1-minute installation you'll be ready to get building, and that building process should only take about a few minutes. Granted, there isn't much to put together. I think I've covered everything I need to for now. Let's get to the assembly of the best Halloween companion there is. Well, after that brief, albeit effective demo of our 4.5-foot floating Zero, I do think there are some key takeaways to be had, and the first of which has to be its most prominent feature of those vivid purple LEDs within. While they're not super accurate to the film, a warm, steady glow would have probably suited better. The purpose they serve is really to conceal the base below, and they do it quite well. Your eyes are immediately drawn to them, and it's not like a color that doesn't make any sense. Purple works well, and it is quite elegant looking. I just wish that they captured more from the film by making this glow just pure white. After establishing kind of why I think purple was chosen and how distinct it is, you're probably asking the question, well, what about the daytime? I still want to make this look as good as it is at night. And well, I'm sure some people out there are putting in some extra effort to make this look like it's truly levitating, but for the average buyer, I think this is the best solution. Spirit Halloween's 2024 all-new Zero Tombstone to be perfectly paired with this guy here. You put it right underneath, have them pop up from behind. People's eyes will be drawn to both objects, not so much the black base, and it costs about $59. In total, you're looking at $160, plus those batteries about $170, then with tax $180. So it's a little bit expensive, but you get a really magical moment between the two, and that's not even mentioning a Jack Skellington animatronic to throw in. So with these two items alone, I do think you kind of have the perfect setup for a Nightmare Before Christmas scene. It could be small, it could be really elaborate. If you just have the really important details, I think it's going to be great either way. This then leads me to something I've neglected talking about this entire time, not for any particular reason, just because there were other things to get to in the review, and that is that this is compatible with the 13-foot animated Jack Skellington that came out last year at Home Depot, is available again this year, likely to be able to be purchased at the same time with Zero, and those prices add up to $500 if you do want to get both. But if you're really second guessing and maybe just want to have a small NBC setup, this is really strongly recommended. However, if you already own the 13-foot Jack like me, you really lucked out. Separating those expenses is always nice. Now, I do need to let you know of the scale, and this is a really big complaint that a lot of people are kind of getting in an uproar about. Jack seems to be a bit too big for Zero. Even though their scales don't match up perfectly, I'm not going to fault it. I think that this is a nice size, and any bigger really isn't necessary. All right, for my last point, I do need to address where did Zero go wrong, and we'll start with the lack of sound. He doesn't bark. Spirit's Tombstone yaps. It doesn't sound a thing like Zero, so I was really counting on this to make noise. Unfortunately, it does not. I'm surprised. I feel like that would have been a no-brainer for this to bark. They could just put a speaker underneath, a little sensor, and we would have been good to go. But no, it doesn't do anything. It purely lights up, and that is all. It makes my next wish even more dramatic, as dare I say I wanted this to move. Whether it's a subtle up and down, wouldn't have to be much, just a little illusion to it, or if somehow maybe they put fans behind the ears, and instead of these being plastic, they were in fact paper, and they kind of moved like this. I just want to get these ideas out there of what could we have done differently. Is it really conceivable to put two fans behind here when it's raining, that paper getting all wet and mushy? I don't know, maybe we swap out the ears so you've got two different sets of ears if you want it to move or if you want it to be static like this. With where we are today of the technology of retail animatronics, I'd imagine they'd kind of treat it like a carousel where you've got the wheel hidden from view, but that's what's moving you up and down. It'd be the same concept here. It would just be flipped upside down. You'd have the motor and the machinery probably covered in some black box, but it really wouldn't be such a departure from this. Adding animation, I don't think would have been too big of a headache had they done it. And now I'll conclude my review on the new 2024 4.5-foot floating LED Zero from the Home Depot. It's time to get this out of the confines of my studio in a more appropriate setting and see how good this can look the way it is designed.
And I, Jack, the Pumpkin King, have grown so tired of the same old thing. Oh, somewhere deep inside of these bones, an emptiness began to grow. There's something out there far from my home, a longing that I've never known. I'm the master of right, and a demon of light, and I'll I'll scare you right out of your pants. Tour guide in Kentucky, I'm Mr. Unlucky, and I'm known throughout England and France. And since I am dead, I can take off my head to recite Shakespearean quotations. No animal nor man can scream like I can with the fury of my recitation.